All right, everyone, welcome into another week of the Daily Reflector's Fearless Football Forecast. I'm Reflector Prep Sports beat writer Jordan Anders. This is Reflector sports writer Ronnie Woodward. Back again, almost to the halfway point in the season, Ronnie.
Yeah.
And we're out here in Littlefield at Ayden-Grifton. Football field's just off to our right. Football team's practicing over that way.
You can see like half of our faces.
Yeah, with the trying to make do with the sun here.
Yeah.
And we even got the cheerleaders off out here
today.
Yeah, it is. Hotter than I thought it was going to be, so we'll get through this quick so we can get back inside. But we have 5 games this week, one all-county matchup and a couple of interesting ones with county teams on the road. We'll start with the all-county matchup, and that's why we're out here at Ayden-Grifton, because we'll start here where North Pitt is coming to play on Friday night, and a matchup of two teams that, kind of like we talked about last week with Aiden and Farmville, tend to kind of throw the records out a little bit when these teams play.
Yep.
Going to be an interesting matchup with a North Pitt team that has played well, won their season opener, and has dropped 3 straight since then. Ronnie, I know you've seen them the last 2 weeks. They fell last week to South Central in a game that they led close to halftime and then kind of fell apart, and South Central pulled away late. Ayden-Grifton coming off of a 21-7 win at Farmville Central, where they really just kind of ground out a win, and Farmville Central was dealing with some injuries, but Ayden-Grifton kind of what they typically do and grinding away on the ground and able to pick up a win. So this is an interesting matchup of a couple of teams. North Pitt needs a win after having lost 3 straight. Ayden-Grifton trying to build off of the win that they had last week. I think Ayden-Grifton holds down home field advantage. I think North Pitt, I feel like we're going to say the exact same thing about them all year, which is I feel like it's going to be close, and I feel like ultimately Ayden-Grifton is just going to pound and pull away, and I think the Chargers win that one.
All right. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'll go North Pitt. As you said, I've covered North Pitt the last 2 weeks. They did some good things last week. I think they were just overmatched against South Central. My law of 2A football here is going to be Farmville Central. We thought was pretty good. They lost to Aiden. We thought Aiden wasn't very good, but they pulled a big win. So I'm going to go. It goes full circle, and North Pitt upsets Aiden, so they all beat each other in a way. But no, I think it's a close game. I think, like as you said, if the Panthers can just hold tight, they don't have a ton of depth, but I like what they did at quarterback last week. They brought in the option guy, Blango, kind of changed their whole dynamic a little bit. Ayden-Grifton's been so up and down. Is it the team that shows up from last week, or the team that looked bad and kind of got blown out early in the year? So a little risky pick, but I'll go with North Pitt coming on the road and winning a close one. It's going to have to be close for them to win it for sure.
Definitely.
Next game here, another team I saw last week. We referenced South Central. 3-1, playing good. They got a quarterback, Woodley, now. The starter, McDuffie, got hurt last week during practice. Woodley, man, that kid can throw. I knew about McDuffie, and he was more of a dual threat guy. Woodley, a great story, obviously, that people talked about, and kind of what he went through with some sickness and stuff in the past year. But he aired it out. They had some big plays down the field. They didn't hit all of them, but it was kind of the rule of like high school long passing, that if you throw it 20 times, you're going to hit enough down the field to make some big plays.
Right.
They did that. They have some talent. They're still, they had a lot of penalties early last week against North Pitt. That kind of hurt them. Called a few touchdowns back. But Hereford County is 2-1. I think we mentioned South Central usually hosts or plays Hereford County every year. They fared well against them in recent years. So I like what I saw from the Falcons. I like the quarterback, the running back, some weapons they have. It's just a matter of maybe it's the defense hold up or do enough to make some plays. But I'll take South Central to win at home.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be the question there. Like you said, Woodley played well last week, and they're going with him again with McDuffie still out. But this is a Hereford County offense that averages over 400, right at 400 yards of offense, and they can do it either running the ball or passing the ball. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to see what if South Central can hold. I do think they beat this team in overtime last year. They're at home this year. I think the Falcons go to 4-1.
Okay.
And that moves us on to the final home game in the county this week, which is D.H. Conley hosting West Craven. Ronnie, I feel like we just said about North Pitt. I feel like we're going to keep saying the same thing. I feel like we keep saying the same thing about Conley, which is this is a West Craven team that's struggling. Conley, with their offense, just continuing to pile up points. Defense has played well against some inferior competition the last couple weeks. And with a West Craven team that's been struggling to score points, they scored, I think it was 7 points in the blowout loss to West Carteret last week. I think this one goes pretty much the same way the last 2 or 3 have gone for the Vikings. I think they win pretty easy here.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think Conley wins, and I'll say it again. I think as this thing builds and the season progresses, I think they're a serious threat. You know, in 3A, when you look at the state picture, or at least the East, you know, the playoffs, you know, a run they could potentially make. I just think they're too good. They're overmatched against their opponent this week. So I'll take the Vikings for sure. Now we get to J.H. Rose, the old transition from Conley to Rose.
Right.
0-4 Rampants. You've seen him at least once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's turnovers, it's penalties, it's different things, it's fumbles, it's weird.
Failing to
it's
convert
weird
in the red
things.
zone.
It reminds, you know, of Greenville. Obviously, it reminds you of ECU in a way,
Right.
of just a larger sample size with the Rampants with 4 games, but just not doing the things to win games ultimately,
Right.
and showing some signs at times. But they are on the road at Franklinton. Franklinton is 3-1, a team that we don't know a ton about, but they're 3-1. They're a smaller school. It's quite the hike out to like Wake Forest, past Chapel Hill, other side of Raleigh for Rose. But they used to play in Wilmington all the time, and they've made some trips to Scotland County and that kind of thing. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a factor. But yeah, this is just like with Rose. Any game right now is an interesting game because they really need to get that first win. As you go from 0-2 to 0-3 to 0-4, and that builds. It's a pretty tough league. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of easy games left for the Rampants. That said, I'll take them to win. I still haven't seen Rose play, so maybe I'm just way off in my radar is thinking they still have Cornell Powell or they have more talent than they do because I'm used to kind of the Rose teams of the past few years. But I'll take the Rampants. I think at some point that it's going to click. They're going to make some plays and hold on to the ball. If you have seen turnovers have killed them. Maybe they only turned over once. Maybe they simplify the offense a little bit. But I just don't know a ton about Franklinton, to be honest. I know it's a smaller school. They could be really good. But I'll take Rose to go on the road and win.
Well, I'll tell you this much about Franklinton, averaging right at 280 yards a game, only 30 of them coming through the air. So, you go on the road, and at least on paper, if you're Rose, you're looking at a team, and you see what the strength is of this team and what they're going to be going for. Whether or not the Rampants can stop it is a different question. But like you said, I think this is a must-win for them because after this, they go into league. They have South Central, a team that if you look at the way both of those teams are playing, you'd have to think Rose would be the underdog in that. That's not an easy win. And then you get into, you're halfway through the year, and you got to get a win at this point. So I think just based on that alone, the Rampants go and make the plays that they need to make in order to pick up a win and maybe try to start getting this thing back on the right track as they go into the conference season.
That's an interesting thing, too, we could bring up a week early. When was the last time South Central beat Rose?
Yeah,
if ever.
We'll have to
I'm not
look
sure
into
it's
that,
ever happened, but that's at play next week for sure.
Yeah, we'll see if Rose is still 0 for going into that. They need a win. Another team that needs a win in our final game of the week, Ronnie, is Farmville Central, and they need a win. But after talking to Scott Gardner this week, they need bodies more than anything.
Yeah,
it has been a rough week and a half or so for the Jaguars in terms of having guys go down. They've lost their starting quarterback. Their top wide receiver is hurt. They're banged up at running back in all different places. So. And of course they get a nice easy trip to Green Central this week. Yeah. That's one of the last places you want to be going if you're banged up and struggling. So I think the Jags, they're going to show up and play hard, but it's just, Scott Gardner told me he didn't even know what formation they were going to be in this week because he doesn't know what personnel he's going to have. I think that's a high mountain to climb, especially like I said, taking a trip to Snow Hill. So I like the Jags as they get things figured out later in the year with who they have. But for this week, I'm gonna go with Green Central here.
Okay, I'm tempted to take the Jaguars because again, I think they're one of those teams where you always kind of do the opposite. When you think they're really good, they'll lose a random game you don't think, and then when you kind of have them down, they'll have some running back we never heard of will go off for 200 yards. That said, I'm going to stick with North Pitt as my risky big upset pick. So I'll go the safe route, but watch out for the Jaguars. I think, again, they could sneak up on people when you're not expecting it. I wasn't that impressed with Green Central, honestly, when they played North Pitt earlier this year. They won, but some things were just kind of off. They didn't exactly blow the doors off that night. It could have been just been 1 week. But I'll take Green Central, but I like the Jaguars to go down there and fight. As you said, maybe just the attrition, the depth and stuff takes over, and Green Central wins in the fourth quarter. But I think it's going to be a close one. So yeah, I'll go Green Central against my rule of the way I should pick, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, Farmville Central, they struggled so bad to put up points after Jay LaBelle went out this past week that I think they might be able to figure out how to do it eventually, but for this week I'm going to go with Green Central here. So that's we're both taking both making that pick. So that's all of our games for this week. We'll be out this week. I'll be here at Ayden-Grifton for and have a report on Ayden-Grifton North Pitt and Saturday's Reflector. Ronnie will be either at South Central or Conley. We'll figure that out.
Figure that out later.
Be out there somewhere, but we'll have reports from all 5 games in Saturday's Reflector and at reflector.com. We'll be tweeting out updates on Twitter, sending smoke signals, carrier pigeons, all that fun stuff. Yeah,
doing it all.
However you need us to get the word out there to you, we will do.
Surviving the Littlefield heat right now.
yeah. I'm ready to get in out of the sun. So thank you guys for watching, and enjoy the games this week. Check out the Reflector Saturday to see what happened, and we'll catch you back here next week.